StarCityGames.com's team put up a 40-14 record on day one with their Mono Blue Devotion deck. I am here with Budde and Gabriel Nassif, who put it together in the castle this week. How's it going, guys?
Pretty decent for me.
Yeah.
I'm still X3 in the tournament, so if the standard deck keeps performing, I still have a shot at top 8, I guess.
Excellent, yeah, and you guys came up with the idea. Tell me a little bit about the genesis of this Mono Blue Devotion deck.
Well, the building part itself was kind of simple. We had the idea that it might work, so we just logged one of our computers into Magic Online, then sorted all the playable blue cards by casting cost, and then just clicked everything that was playable into a deck. And I mean, it's not that much. You don't have many choices.
Yeah, pretty much we're in the kitchen and Sam was there, and I was like, isn't that the first deck you built? Because it looks like fun. And he's like, built it in paper, but never actually bothered to put it in cards. So me and Kai were like, all right, let's just put something together and see how it works. And our first version was actually like, what, 4 cards off the main deck, more or less?
There was like two main decks.
There was 2 main deck Sphinxes and 2 Ætherlings main deck when we started. No Jace main deck, but it was pretty much what we did at the tournament minus the expensive cards.
Sure. Yeah, the main core of the deck was all in there together. One of the main things that sold you guys on the deck was Bident of Thassa, right? Was one of the main reasons why you guys wanted to play the deck, take advantage of some of the weaker creatures like Judge's Familiar and Cloudfin Raptor, turn those into card advantage engines late in the game. How has Bident been?
Well, strangely in this format, small flying creatures are very hard to block, and there's very few people that play cards like Shock or Incinerate, Flame Strike Spear or whatever it's called now. So just playing a couple of junky creatures in the first 3 turns and then playing the Bident is actually a very good opening. It's going to draw you a couple of cards.
Yeah, Bident makes the whole deck work because it's like a permanent that's hard to remove, so it works well with Thassa, God of the Sea, and it turns your like cheap creatures that have pretty low impact into card advantage, so it's very important.
Very cool. Now, what do you think are some of the key matchups that you've been able to that you have faced today, and what are the key cards in those matchups?
Well, I mean, you want to play against green decks all day. Basically, your creature base is so much worse if the Tidebinder Mages don't have targets. But once the Tidebinder Mages have targets, suddenly all your cheap junky creatures are actually doing something. So, like the weakest deck against this is probably green-white. Like you want to play against the green-white decks that won the Star City Games Open, I think 2 weeks ago. That's what you want to play against every round. It's like insanely good match.
It's like literally almost unlosable because at the same time you have target for your mages, your creatures like Weird are very efficient. They have no removal for Master of the Waves, which is like one of the key to the deck. Like decks that can't remove Master of the Waves. That's why the white-green matchup is like almost unlosable. Mono red is pretty good. Not unlosable, it's like maybe 60-40, a bit better, or because they can't kill a Master. But white-green has at the same time target for Tidebinder Mage and no removal, so it's like the dream.
Yeah, I saw you had a feature match against Osip Lebedovich, and that seemed like that round was over relatively quickly. So that's definitely one of the matchups that you want to be facing if you're playing this deck. Speaking of Master of Waves, that's probably the breakout card from this tournament, that and Thassa. I think that people saw Thassa coming, but the other Devotion mythic, Master of Waves, has been really standout this weekend.
I mean, I think Thassa is more powerful in the deck, but Master of Waves is... Those 2 cards are the reason to play the deck, really.
Yeah. Although, I think that without one of those cards, the deck wouldn't be playable. It's possible without... You could play Jace instead of Bident, and the deck would still be okay. But if we didn't have Tidebinder Mage or Weird, or like if one of the cards were missing, like would have been pretty tough. So all the cards are important to the deck.
Also, actually, you board out the Master of Waves in some matchups, but you never board out a Thassa in any matchup.
Yeah, Thassa is
untouchable, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, this deck, the other cool thing about this deck is that it does a lot of really neat things. Like, it looks really good on camera. There's a lot of interesting interplay that you can do, interactions with things like Thassa and Rapid Hybridization, and you can play things off of Nykthos if you have the dual colored creatures. What's the coolest thing that you got to do with the deck so far?
I mean, I did tap the Nexus for 12 mana, but I actually lost that game. So
sure.
But I mean, it's not. You don't do amazing stuff. You just play your creatures. Like you don't have many instants. You have Cyclonic Rift, but that's it. I mean, you just play your guys in the attack, and I mean, your stuff is pretty tough to deal with. There's just like the spot removal is generally red, and I mean, it's just.
Yeah, you get to do cool stuff with Specter sometimes, cast cards. You can use Nykthos to make black, white, or red mana because we have the hybrid cards. So it happens once in a while. Also, yeah, you mentioned Rapid Hybridization. It's a pretty cool card after Sideboard against, you like target your guy, get a free, sometimes block a pro blue Hydra, or they go for the kill, you get it. Like, yeah, a couple cool things, but as Kai said, not a lot of spells, mostly tap out blue, so, you know.
Yeah, it plays a lot like a white weenie deck, actually, with being very aggressive turn 1, turn 2, turn 3.
Well, the thing is that your top end matters so much more than a usual weenie deck. Like, our creatures are just bad by themselves. Like, you need the 3 and 4 mana stuff to matter.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing why we play 25 lands, which is probably unusual for a deck like this. But you really need to hit your 4th land drop. Otherwise, I mean, you're not winning a game with just Frostburn Weird.
Yeah, we're considering even upping up to 26 lands.
Yeah, absolutely. And with 4 of them being Mutavaults that interact great with the rest of the deck, both Master of Waves and Bident of Thassa, it really helps to be able to play that many lands that can also sort of act like spells.
Yeah, like if you just play a couple of guys against control deck and then cast Bident and then they have the Supreme Verdict, but you have 1 or 2 Mutavaults in play, it's just such a nightmare for them.
Absolutely, yeah. This is one of the best performing decks of the weekend so far, and you guys had a big hand in creating it, but you didn't really decide on a name. We've sort of been discussing a little bit what the deck was going to be called. There's a couple different ideas, but for right now, it's Mono Blue Devotion, right?
Sounds good. Until
something else pops up
yeah.
better. Well, keep that in mind. See if you guys can come up with any better names. For Kai Budde, Gabriel, Nassif, I'm Reuben Bresler for TeamStarCityGames.com.